If you've ever been looking for something in a tiny space in the dark, you know how frustrating it can be. Light is one of those things that we can easily take for granted until it's gone. And then we realize how much easier it makes our lives. So today I'm talking about light sources and how I take advantage of each one. When you're in a small space like a vehicle, not having light can make it seem smaller and scarier. And it's much harder to do almost everything. So it's always a good idea to have fail-proofs and redundancies so that you are never without it. The most simple light sources come from nature. Being out in nature helps my body regulate to the natural rhythms of sunlight and even moonlight. It's interesting how much more aware you become of sunrises and sunsets and even phases of the moon when you are not in a building or a house. I find that when the sun starts to go down, my body also starts to slow down and get ready for nighttime. And even when I'm with a group of friends, we often all feel like it is later than it is when the sun starts setting. And we all either sit by the fire and do something relaxing, or we go into our separate vehicles and get ready for our nighttime routines. And if the moon's bright, that can easily extend our outdoor activities and make us feel more awake. My point is that sunlight and moonlight are good natural light sources that shouldn't be overlooked. There's candles. At first, I used to shy away from candles because I didn't want open flames in my van. But since then, I've learned to embrace them as light sources. I prefer beeswax candles because they're clean burning and environmentally friendly because they supposedly release negative ions that purify the air. They also have a higher melting point than other types of wax, so the wick burns longer and doesn't tend to drip. I'm also very careful when I'm using them, and I never leave my van unattended with an open flame. I also have a fire blanket that is easily accessible at all times. But I really appreciate the ambiance of candles and the little boost of warmth they provide as an alternate light source when it's dark outside. Similar to candles, I have these biofuel canisters as an alternate light source. They're also considered green and clean burning, sustainable and biodegradable. They're safe to use indoors because they do burn clean and don't release toxins or particles into the air like a wood-burning stove would. And an added advantage is that they have a higher heat output than candles do, so they can serve to warm up your space a bit too. There are simple battery-operated lights and headlamps. I have this one always on my front seat over there, and it just takes AAA batteries. And then I have these little guys, and they just have these type of batteries to replace them every once in a while. Haven't needed to do that actually yet. But I have these over here, and they just turn on like that. I have my overhead puck lights that I can turn on remotely or by simply pushing them on and off. This remote is always here by the side of my door so that I can turn it on first thing when I get into the van, and it operates the overhead puck lights up here. So when I turn it on, it's automatically on and off. And of course it can do fancy things and change colors and all of that. But I usually just have it on white. And of course, I have my LED fairy lights. They're probably my favorite nighttime light source because they brighten up the space using very little power and create a nice, cozy environment. And the fairy lights are controlled by this remote. I put a magnet on it so that it can be put anywhere in my van that I need it. Sometimes I just put it on the door down there when I'm sleeping so that I can turn them on and off when I need to. And I didn't need to do anything fancy to put them on. I just used these little factory plastic pieces to put them behind all around the place here. And that's the battery pack over there. I just put in here. My little chandelier simply has a battery operated LED light. The disadvantage of these battery operated lights is that you have to replace the batteries. I have rechargeable batteries, but I also carry extra AA and AAA batteries just in case. And then I have a whole host of LED rechargeable lights. This is one of my favorite over here. I also have this fat cat light that has a rechargeable USB port right built into it. That also serves to let you be able to hang it up wherever you need to. I also have these little magnetic lights that are motion sensor, but you can set them to be on all the time, and you can use it as a candle when you are outside. They are magnetic, but the magnet isn't that strong, so this base is magnetic, so that's how it stays on when I am parked somewhere. Usually when I'm driving down the road, I have to take these off because they're not strong enough magnets. So that's what they look like. And they are motion sensors, so you can put them on automatic, and then they will turn off automatically after a few seconds, like that. I also have solar charged lights. I always have one charging on the windshield as an option for a light source in case any of my other options are not working for whatever reason. I like the idea that I can rotate between lights so that I always have something available to me. While some are recharging, I have the ones that are already charged. And if none of those are available, then I can use any of the other sources available to me. Then, of course, there's always the option of wired lighting. You can have an entire electrical system hooked up to a battery with cables and charge controllers and a fuse box and inverter and switches that make it very easy and convenient when you want to turn on the light. But it can make it harder to fix when something goes wrong. It can also be a lot more expensive to set it all up. But it is very convenient, and you can always have the option of the other light sources that I've talked about as a backup for that system. I hope this gave you a good idea of some of the options available for lighting as you figure out what you want to do. It all depends on what you want to do, how much you want to spend, and how much thought you want to put into it as you plan your build. If you want to keep watching, tap the screen right here. If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.